We are glad to be back with Sunny Hostin and Judge Jeanine Pirro. We want to talk about Chef Paula Deen, of course, fired by the Food Network after admitting she's used the N-word during a deposition. Now, the suit was filed originally by a former employee, Lisa Jackson. Now that all this has been made public, is this a slam dunk case, Judge?
Well, there's no such thing as a slam dunk, but it certainly gives Paula Deen the incentive to try to settle this case. But what is fascinating about this is that the plaintiff in the case is not African American. She is white, and she is alleging sexual harassment on the part of Paula's brother. Right. She says, though, that the atmosphere and the environment was one of racial discrimination. So the question is, what she said, what is the relevance to the sexual harassment? But I'm not so sure that ultimately that will make the case winnable for the plaintiff.
Are all these interviews that she's doing, will they all be admitted into court? Can they be used against her?
No, unless she says something that is contradictory to something else she said. But I really believe this will be settled.
What about other employees who
They're
are in the atmosphere?
Forward in a minute. Yeah. Every employee is saying, wait a minute, if she's saying there was sexual, racial discrimination, I'm of this particular bent, and she's got a lot of money. She's money bags.
And she admitted to using, the N-word. What was shocking to me as a person of color was her response during the deposition. When she was asked whether or not she used it, her response was like, yeah, of course. Almost like, who doesn't? Well, hello, Paula, I don't, and no one should.
But I think what's interesting is the plaintiff says that she never heard Paula say anything racist.
But she admitted to
No, 30 years ago, which I'm not condoning.
20 or 30 years ago.
She said 30 today, she said 20 before in the statement. Okay. But the bottom line is that the plaintiff says, I've never known her to be racist or make a statement. That is very interesting.
That is interesting.
So it's a lot of craziness.
So no slam dunk indeed. I want to move on to New England Patriots football player Aaron Hernandez. It seemed like it was a long time, but he was part of an investigation into the murder of semi-pro player Odin Lloyd. He was just arrested, Aaron Hernandez was, a few hours ago. What can you tell us about the case, Sonny?
Well, we don't know what he was arrested on, but we do know now that an arrest warrant was issued because, as you see, there was the big perp walk out front of his home. Right. I think that tells us a couple of things. Tells us, one, law enforcement really comfortable with the evidence underlying the arrest warrant. And two, he has a lawyer. Why not then go to his lawyer and agree upon a way to surrender instead of that very public perp walk? That tells me either they're trying to pressure him into something, or they really believe that they have their guy.
The cops went to his house a few times. What are they looking for there?
Well, they already found a bunch of stuff. He destroyed the surveillance
system that he allegedly destroyed, the cell phone that he destroyed. They took dogs in, whether it's cadaver dogs. Was he dead there at the scene? The victim was found within a mile. You've also got all kinds of forensic testing that will be done. He brings in a cleaning service within a couple of days, a major cleaning service. They will go through all of the forensics, and they've got the goods, make no mistake. And by the way, as someone who's made these arrests, you don't have to agree to the defense attorney. Okay. Well, he is apparently dating the sister of Aaron's girlfriend. So there is a connection.
But it seems very suspicious.
And more to come, I'm sure. Judge, I want to ask you, you've written your second legal thriller, Clever Fox. It's about a female prosecutor in the 80s. How much of the Clever Fox is you?
Well, I can certainly relate to her. She is my alter ego, and she is a young, idealistic prosecutor, the only woman in an pretty much all male-dominated courthouse, and she is torn between two men. She is young and she is sweet, but what she doesn't know about these men can be dangerous to her, and there's so much about the men in our lives that we don't know about.
So were you young and sweet once?
I was young and sweet once. And I wrote the book because I thought that the public has a hunger for crimes. What the public doesn't know is that there is the politics behind the actual narrative of the crime, and that will determine whether or not and how a case gets prosecuted, and Danny finds that out.
Well, I do know this, and you may not, but you were the first female prosecutor in Westchester County, New York, right?
I was the first female prosecutor to prosecute a murder case, and I was one of the first in the office, without a doubt. And the first judge and the first DA who's female, and the first this and that. And what I love about this is that I tell a secret. The biggest secret in law enforcement is a turf war between the feds and the locals. That's right. And then Danny ends up having a sexual tension with this FBI guy.
Foxy stuff. You want to give congratulations.
No. He would not be prosecuting people.
We want to give our thanks, of course, to the fabulous Sunny Hostin and Judge Jeanine Pirro. Members of our audience, you're lucky because you're going home with a copy of Clever Fox. Have a great day, everyone.